This hour of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by my good friends at Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold is a 5-star rated gold company with one-of-a-kind customer service. And when it comes to gold and precious metals, Advantage Gold is the only company I'll work with. Call Advantage Gold today and make sure you let them know that Mark Levin sent you. And now, let's begin.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I hope you're well. I'm going to use two examples of monumental lies, how the media promote them, and how it is a horrendous effect on our country, on the truth. Just two, and there's 1,002. I have a list here from Mr. Producer of clips from Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. Let's see, some others here. We have Raphael Warnock, the usual commie bastards. And they keep talking about the slaughter of the Gazan citizens. Many of them keep using that number, 30,000. It was 27,000. No longer do they even say where they got it from, nor do the media. Now, keep something in mind. The media invite these people on as guests. So they want Bernie Sanders on Face the Nation, even though he's inconsequential. They want Raphael Warnock on Meet the Press. These are the most radical elements in our society. They want them to say what they keep saying. I had the misfortune, serious misfortune. I was flying today, and I'm on JetBlue, which is a great airline. I'm not talking about them. The lady next to me was watching CNN, Mr. Producer. Now, of course, my screen wasn't working. You ever have that? My screen's not working, so I'm sitting there like a bump in a log because I would have put Fox or something on, or ESPN or whatever. And she's watching this. Now, she's reading a book while it's on the screen, so I'm watching it. And it's on, and I'm reading what's being said in the titles that they're putting in. I dare you to watch CNN for 2 hours in the morning. And MSNBC's even worse. It is non-stop propaganda and lies. And so the media invited Sanders, these reprobates, Warnock, the others on, keep talking about the statistics, the death of the Gazans, and this is the hook now they want to use to ensure that Israel is defeated, that its people are constantly attacked, because this is their base in the Democrat Party. They're all out of the closet now. Israel's attacked viciously, and now all the anti-Semites, including the Democrats, including Biden, they're all out of the closet. There's a great piece written where a gentleman says, yes, Biden only supports Israel when Israel kowtows to Biden. He never supports Israel when it has a strong prime minister. He only supports Israel when Israel does what he tells them to do or his party tells them what to do. Obama tells them what to do and so forth. And I thought, that's 100% right. But I want to go on here. We have Sanders, who is a horrendous, of course he hates America too, horrendous SOB. And he wants to cut off all aid to Israel unless Netanyahu is toppled. Now listen to this punk. Didn't he accuse us of colonialism and imperialism, Mr. Producer? Trying to conduct coups of leaders we don't like who are duly elected? Those are communist leaders, of course, that he likes. So now Bernie Sanders is an imperialist and a colonialist. And he's not alone. They all are on the left. And they keep telling the Israeli government what it must do. And yet, it's amazing. Even many significant leftists in Israel are saying there's no way the people of Israel are going to accept a two-state solution. Period. They're united in this. They have a few oddballs, and the oddballs get all the attention in the American media. But I want to go on and prove something to you. There was a statistician who took a look at what Hamas has been putting out. Statistician's name is Abraham Weiner, W-Y-N-E-R. And he's a top statistician. He's a professor of statistics and data science, for God's sakes, at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania and faculty co-director of the Wharton Sports Analytics and Business Initiative. Sounds like a pretty important dude, doesn't he, Mr. Producer? Like one of the smartest nerds around. So he writes this piece 5 days ago. It's available to the Democrats. It's available to their media. It's available. And they ignore it, as they must. Bernie Sanders ignores it. Warnock ignores it. Jake Tapper ignores it. Wolf Blitzer ignores it. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, he ignores it. They all ignore it, as they must. Now, I can't read you the whole thing. We will post it. But he says the number of civilian casualties in Gaza has been at the center of international attention since the start of the war. The main source for the data has been the Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry, which now claims more than 30,000 dead, the majority of which it says are children and women. That's exactly what Biden said during his State of Confusion speech. Here's the problem with this data, he writes. The numbers are not real. That much is obvious to anyone who understands how naturally occurring numbers work. The casualties are not overwhelmingly women and children, and the majority may be Hamas fighters. If Hamas's numbers are faked or fraudulent in some way, there may be evidence in the numbers themselves that can actually demonstrate it. While there's not much data available, there is a little, and it's enough. From October 26 until November 10, 2023, the Gaza Health Ministry released daily casualty figures that include both a total number and a specific number of women and children. The first place to look is the reported total number of deaths. And he has a graph. He says the graph of total deaths by date is increasing with almost metronomical linearity, as the graph shows. In other words, it seems like it goes up each day, more and more with precision. The same number of men, the same number of children, the same number of women. He says, wait a minute, that's a red flag, number one. He says, surely this regularity is almost not real. One would expect quite a bit of variation day to day. In fact, the daily reported casualty count over this period averages 270 plus or minus about 15%. That's strikingly little variation. There should be days with twice the average or more, and others with half or less. Perhaps what is happening is the Gaza Ministry is releasing fake daily numbers that vary too little because they do not have a clear understanding of the behavior of naturally occurring numbers. Yeah, I would guess that's part of the problem. It says, unfortunately, verified control data is not available to formally test this conclusion, but the details of the daily counts render the numbers suspicious. Also, we should see variation in the number of child casualties that tracks the variation in the number of women. This is because the daily variation in death counts is caused by the variation in the number of strikes on residential buildings and tunnels, which should result in considerable variability in the totals, but less variation in the percentage of deaths across groups. In other words, obviously, if you're hitting more buildings, more people will die. If you're focused on tunnels, less women and children will die, more terrorists will die. He says, but that's not shown in the numbers. Period. It's always mostly women, mostly children, as if the Israelis are going through and just bombing apartment buildings, one after another, after another, after another, and not dealing with tunnels. Now, we know that's a lie. Let's see here. He says, similarly, I pointed that out, this lack of correlation is the second circumstantial piece of evidence suggesting the numbers are not real. But there's more. The daily number of women casualties should be highly correlated with the number of non-women and non-children, that is, men, reported. Again, this is expected because of the nature of battle, the ebbs and flows. What he's saying there is, look, you're saying all these women are dying, all these children are dying, but there aren't days when more men are dying than women, Mr. Producer. How is that possible? And why is it the same 70% every time are women and children every single day? Virtually the exact same percentage of women and children are dying as opposed to men. He says that's that's incomprehensible. He says, consider further anomalies in the data. First, the death count reported on October 29 contradicts the numbers reported the day before on the 28th, insofar as they imply that 26 men came back to life. This can happen because of misattribution or just bad reporting. There are a few other days where the numbers of men are reported to be near zero. If these were just reporting errors, then on those days where the death count for men appears to be in error, the women's count should be typical at least. What he's saying is they're playing with the numbers. So when they're putting near zero for men, they're jacking up the number for women. You see what I'm saying, Mr. Producer? Because they need to have a certain number of quote-unquote people dying every day and an increasing quote-unquote people number dying every day. So when they have men nearly at zero, they have to jack up the number of women and children. He's saying that's obvious from these numbers. Most likely, the Hamas ministry settled on a daily total arbitrarily. We know this because the daily totals increased too consistently to be real. Then they assigned about 70% of the total to women and children, splitting that amount randomly from day to day. Then they infilled the number of men as set by the predetermined total. Okay, now we have to say this number of men died. This explains all the data we've observed. There are other obvious red flags. The Gaza Health Ministry has consistently claimed that 70% of the casualties are women or children. This total is far higher than the numbers reported in earlier conflicts with Israel. Another red flag raised by Salo Eisenberg and written about extensively is that if 70% of the casualties are women and children and 25% of the population is adult male, then either Israel is not successfully eliminating Hamas fighters or adult male casualty counts are extremely low. This by itself strongly suggests the numbers are, at a minimum, grossly inaccurate and quite probably faked. Finally, on February 15, Hamas admitted to losing 6,000 of its fighters, which represents more than 20% of the total number of casualties reported. So taken together, Hamas is reporting not only that 70% of the casualties are women and children, but also that 20% are fighters. So he's saying 20% are terrorists, 70% are women and children, 10% are other men. He said that's impossible. That's impossible. Not only do official Palestinian death counts fail to differentiate soldiers from children in their own official numbers, but Hamas also blames all deaths on Israel, even if caused by Hamas's own misfired rockets, accidental explosions, deliberate killings, or internal battles. So he says the truth can't yet be known and probably never will be. The total civilian casualty count is likely to be extremely overstated. Israel estimates that at least 12,000 fighters have been killed. If that number proves to be even remotely accurate, then the ratio of non-combatant casualties combatants is remarkably low. At most 1.4 to 1, and perhaps as low to 1 to 1. And by historical standards of urban warfare, where combatants are embedded above and below into civilian population centers, this is a remarkable and successful effort to prevent unnecessary loss of life while fighting an implacable enemy that protects itself with its own civilians. So what's the takeaway here? He's a top statistician in the United States of America at the Wharton School. Is a senior position at the Wharton School. This is what he does every day. He looks at the numbers. He says, this is a lie for these 5, 6, 7, 8 reasons. This was published 5 days ago. It's received no attention on any cable channel. It's received no attention on any network. It's received no attention in the New York Times or the Washington Post. Over at the White House, they continue to lie. So we're getting lies over and over and over again because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit the scenario that they're trying to project on Netanyahu and his government and the Israeli people. They're trying, literally, the White House, the Democrat Party, and the media, literally, to rally our nation against the state of Israel with flat-out lies about casualties. You can check it yourself, how the Gaza Ministry of Health fakes casualty numbers. It's by tablet. We'll have it on our Mark Levin Show website immediately following the program, like we do all articles. Just imagine this, and all weekend long, all the media outlets lied, all the senators lied, all the congressmen lied, Biden lied, Harris lied, they all lied because they want Israel to lose. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Our once mighty dollar's under siege from runaway inflation. For those still working, your paychecks buy less while costs for gas, food, cars, utilities skyrocket thanks to inflation. That's why I'm urging all my listeners to register for the upcoming Gold and Silver Summit hosted by our friends at Advantage Gold. It's a fantastic seminar. They'll teach you how to take steps to help guard your wealth from inflation using asset diversification into physical precious metals. Gold and silver hold intrinsic value that should remain untouched by government manipulation. Folks, don't wait for the Fed's reckless policies to completely devalue the dollar and steal your life savings. Call now while free registration is open. I'm telling you, this is a fantastic seminar. Call 800-900-8000 right now. The Gold and Silver Summit could provide the vital insights we need to protect our families. 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Always consult your financial and tax professionals. Despite all the media support and static, as they act like a Praetorian Guard to protect another of their great heroes, Dizzy Lizzie Cheney, it is about damn time the Republicans on the Oversight Committee, the subcommittee, headed by Mr. Loudermilk, and he's a good man, call her and others to testify under oath about information they're finding and about things they're saying to the public and put in the report that contradicts interviews that I held right here on the radio. And I think they're playing games, Dizzy Lizzie and that former committee, semantics. And so you would expect the clowns over at Mediaite and the prepubescents to jump in. Oh, look at this. Oh, we got a Twitter. Wow. Freak show. But we're going to dig into this a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. Dizzy Lizzie has a lot to answer for. So do the other reprobates on that former Nancy Pelosi Stalinist committee. Because it is they who are threatening democracy. They who are threatening America. I'll be right back. Attention, fellow Americans. Mark Levin here with a warning and a solution. I feel like our country's being destroyed by out-of-control spending and debt thanks to Biden and the American Marxists. And your hard-earned savings and retirement could be at risk from their socialist schemes. That's why you should consider Advantage Gold, the best of the best, a U.S.-based company that specializes in helping everyday Americans protect their wealth. They have a simple solution to help you even potentially grow your wealth despite the attacks from Washington. I urge you to register for their upcoming Gold and Silver Summit. It's fabulous. A free online event where you'll learn tips to help safeguard your finances by diversifying into physical precious metals. Call 800-900-8000. Call them right now to sign up securely for this pivotal summit. It is crucial. Tell them Mark Levin sent you for a special bonus. Call 800-900-8000 right now. Performance may vary. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
America's most powerful conservative voice. The Mark Levin Show. Dial in now. 877-381-3811.
Liz Cheney is an individual who does not believe in America. She does not believe in separation of powers. She does not believe in the truth. She does not believe in honest hearings. She does not believe people should follow their oath, in my opinion. I believe she needs to be investigated along with other individuals who served on that committee. We already know enormous amounts of information was destroyed. What did she know and when did she know it, if anything? And she's contradicting now information found by the current subcommittee chairman, and she's contradicting something that was said on this program by a former Secretary of Defense. And I think what she's doing and what that committee did is twist words. Donald Trump never ordered, you see, the National Guard to be prepared. Well, that's not how it works. He offered the National Guard. He didn't order them to do anything. But it doesn't matter. We know how corrupt this committee is, and we know how Liz Cheney is unhinged, obsessed. A new best friend of the same media that tried to destroy her family and her father. Perverse, but it is what it is. Grifting has no morals. And I will not accept her as some kind of heroine. She's a disgrace. And as I said, it is she who's the threat to our system of government. It is she and others who are sabotaging the ability of Donald Trump to get reelected. And by the way, I don't agree with Donald Trump on everything. I don't agree with anybody on everything. So what? I didn't even agree with Reagan on everything. But that's a far cry from what Biden's doing to our country and other countries. And I'm not going to sit here and give cover to somebody who is personally a reprobate, in my view, who serves the purpose of these pukes in the media who hate our country. She and others. So what am I talking about? Several reports. NBC News, a House committee investigating the Special Six Committee released a sweeping report today that Republicans say demonstrates key witness Cassidy Hutchinson's dramatic account of former President Donald Trump's actions that day was not corroborated by four other White House employees. Quote from Chairman Loudermilk, none of the White House employees corroborated Hutchinson's sensational story about President Trump lunging for the steering wheel of the beast. However, some witnesses did describe the president's mood after the speech at the Ellipse, states the 81-page report by the House Administration Committee Oversight Subcommittee led by Louderback. Hutchinson testified under oath privately and publicly before the January 6 panel that she had heard that Trump had lunged at the steering wheel of the presidential SUV and got into a physical altercation with his lead Secret Service agent after the president was told he could not go to the Capitol to join his supporters after speaking at the rally on the Ellipse. Now, everybody knew that was ridiculous, except Dizzy. Since taking back the majority last year, House Republicans have been eager. This is NBC, of course. They can't write a straight story, but we'll take what we can get. To relitigate the investigation and findings of January 6th. She was the star witness for the Select Committee that investigated Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, and, of course, Dizzy Lizzy took her under her wing. Hutchinson has also written about these events in her book. As for comment Monday, Hutchinson's attorney, why do you need an attorney to talk about this? What do you need an attorney for? Can't you just tell the truth? William H. Jordan referred NBC News to a January letter he sent to Loudermilk stating that his client has been truthful. Your letter means crap, pal, and you know it damn well. Your client needs to testify again under oath before the committee. She needs to be confronted with the contradictions. She needs to be confronted with the testimony of other individuals, as does Liz Cheney. Here's Fox News. The January 6th Congressional Committee allegedly falsely claimed it did not have evidence that showed former President Trump, this is another issue, had requested National Guard assistance, according to a report detailing, quote, a hidden transcript, unquote, that was recently released. Like I say, they've destroyed information, tons and tons of information. Why? You know why. It's called a cover-up. And we have a right to know if Liz Cheney was involved in a cover-up. We have a right to know. Taxpayer dollars, official duties, now she's out grifting. We have a right to know if Liz Cheney and others were and are involved in a cover-up. No accusation. Let's just get to the bottom of it. The former J6 Select Committee apparently withheld the testimony of Mr. Arnado, I should say. Mr. Arnado's testimony proves, says Mr. Loudermilk, that Mr. Meadows has said all along. President Trump did in fact offer 10,000 National Guard troops to secure the U.S. Capitol, which was turned down. You know, this Mark Meadows comes under a lot of attack. I will say this about the man. He's truthful. He's a man of deep faith. Why would he lie about this? Loudermilk released a transcript of former White House Deputy Chief of Staff Anthony Arnado's interview with the Congressional Committee investigating January 6 on Friday, following the Federalist Molly Hemingway, also a Fox News contributor, reporting, quote, former Representative Liz Cheney's January 6 committee suppressed evidence that the Trump administration pushed for 10,000 National Guard members to be on the streets. Arnado's interview was conducted in January 2022 and attended by Dizzy Lizzy, among other members on the committee. In addition to serving as Deputy Chief of Staff under Trump, he served in the Secret Service for decades. Trump has long claimed that he requested the National Guard, but that then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi failed to act on the request. All right? I seem to recall we interviewed the former Secretary of Defense, who Dizzy Lizzy said testified that there was no such thing, Mr. Producer. Remember that? And she and I went at it a little bit. Dizzy got very offended. Bozo. Oh, no, if I was calling you a bozo, it'd be angry bozo. And there they are, the prepubescent munchkins over there at Meteor. And they write it, and then the huffing. Oh, look at this. Look at this is news to these a-holes. But here's some news. This was, let's see, Mr. Beer, this was back on February 8, 2023, a little over a year ago. Christopher Miller, the acting Secretary of Defense, who was in the room, was on this program. What did he say about the National Guard and President Trump? Cut 14, go. Were you in the meeting January 3rd or January 4th with Kash Patel and others, in which President Trump offered or authorized National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol?
Yeah, I was there, and that's been totally misinterpreted by so many politically motivated, quote unquote, news outlets and politicians. Yeah, we were there. The president was quite clear. He said, "Provide whatever support you need to the doggone, federal and local officials to protect protesters and demonstrators that day." Yeah, I was with Kash.
Did he mention the National Guard, as Kash has said and others have said?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's all in the up and up. The National Guard is, as you know, but a lot of your listeners, learning about this. The National Guard, he controls the National Guard in the District of Columbia because it's not a state. Normally the governor does, but since there's no governor, the president does. He delegated that authority to me, and I was in charge of the National Guard for that episode and for those events. So, yep, Kash was there, and President, and he also called me, I think on the 5th, and talked about it. So, yeah, he was very clear about, provide whatever support you need, and gave me the authorization to provide, whatever that was requested.
Wouldn't it be strange to be authorizing whatever assistance was needed to protect the building and the people, and including the National Guard, and then to encourage an insurrection? Don't you think that would be weird?
Well, Mark, you're a lawyer. You know as well as I do, Capitol Hill is controlled by the legislative branch, and the military is in the executive branch, works for the president. And if you go up on Capitol Hill with military force without an invite from leadership there, we know what that's called. That's called a military coup. Wasn't going to be party of that. And the president absolutely in no way, shape, or form ever even implied that the military would be used inappropriately.
I'm back live. Now, how does Liz Cheney square that? She doesn't. How come none of this? I mean, I question the man. He's not even under oath. So what gives? That's what he said. We have an Inspector General report that says pretty much the same thing. We have Kash Patel, so she smears Kash Patel, who served in the military, who was a prosecutor, a good man. Oh, you can't believe him. And Molly Hemingway, one of the best writers around. Oh, she's a bozo. Oh, good, Dizzy Lizzie. Very good. And you're a liar. And you're contemptible. That's what you are. You newfound notoriety. All because you disagree with Trump on foreign policy. Absolutely grotesque. You were Nancy Pelosi's plaything. And you went on that committee not as somebody who wanted to get to the facts. You went on that committee as somebody who wanted to seek and destroy. And you've been doing it ever since. And you think I'm going to bow down to you or roll over because you have a few media knuckleheads out there. Oh, Mark Levin, I don't give a you know what. How come you don't come online, Liz, and tell them how you got 13 of my emails? Which, by the way, had nothing to do with any of this. How did you get 13 of my emails, Dizzy Lizzie? Boy, I hope they put you under oath, because I'm going to ask a congressman to ask you exactly that question. You need to be put under oath under penalty of perjury, just like you did to everybody else. You especially, because you're out there more than anybody else. We want to know how that information was destroyed and why. We want to know if you knew about it, let alone had a role in it. No accusations, just say it under oath. What are you running from? Why won't you come on my program? Why do you only go to friendly programs that won't ask you any questions? There, you heard the Secretary of Defense on my show. What about it, Liz? And here's this guy. He gives testimony and they kill it. They kill it. This is a committee hearing, mind you. When it comes to the National Guard statement about having 10,000 troops or other number of troops, do you recall, was the question to the former deputy chief, any discussion prior to the 6th about whether and how many National Guard troops to deploy on January 6th? This was the question asked to Mr. Ornato by the committee. I remember he was on the phone with Bowser. That's the mayor of D.C., I had walked in for something and I was there and he was on the phone with her and wanted to make sure she had everything that she needed, because I think it was the concern of anti and pro groups clashing is what I recall, and not anywhere near the Capitol. This was just out on the mall area at the event. He wanted to know if she needed any more guardsmen. That's what he said under oath, and it never saw the light of day. Dizzy Lizzie, why is that? Why? So we have questions being raised, serious questions about Hutchinson. And the media said, why are they digging up all this dirt here? They're trying to get Liz. Armato went on to cite the 10,000 guardsmen number, according to the transcript, arguing Trump wanted to make sure that you have enough, quote unquote. And I remember he says the number 10,000 coming up of, the president wants to make sure that you have enough. He's willing to ask for 10,000. He didn't order 10,000, Liz, which is the damn word game you're playing. He offered 10,000. And why didn't you put this in your report, Liz? Why didn't you let this man testify publicly so the nation could hear what he said, Liz? Because you're a Soviet Politburo type. That's why. All these years pretending to be otherwise. You want to topple a president, now you want to topple a candidate. Be honest with yourself, Liz. Now that you said it, he said, it reminded me of it, and that she was all set. She had, I think, it was like 350 so for intersection control. This is Bowser. And those types of things, not in the law enforcement capacity at that time. And then that's the only thing I recall with that number, 10,000 National Guardsmen. Bowser ultimately asked for over 300 National Guardsmen, requesting that they not be armed and only work to assist police. Ornato said in his interview with the committee that after Bowser's refusal for additional National Guard members, the White House requested the Defense Department have a quick reaction force on hand. They can't allow this testimony public at the time. They're ignoring it and trashing it if they're not ignoring it at CNN and MSNBC and the major Democrat Party news platforms. They have their little flunkies, their little pukes, their little prepubescents at Media Matters and Mediaite and the others out there trying to trash people who raise it because they don't want the truth. She understand it was an insurrection. Trump shouldn't even be on the ballot. He needs to be prosecuted over January 6th. He needs to be thrown in prison for the rest of his life under the Ku Klux Klan Act. Don't you understand? We have a narrative here. We have a purpose here. Get the hell out of the way. How dare you look into this? You're a liar, Liz, a serial liar, unless you prove otherwise. You should offer yourself right now to go up to that committee and testify under oath. And do it without a lawyer, Liz. You're a lawyer. Do it without a lawyer. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
My fellow Americans, we're living in very perilous economic times. Washington seems determined to bankrupt our nation with endless stimulus spending. As they devalue our dollar, hard-working Americans like you could lose everything. That's why I urge you strongly, register for the upcoming Gold and Silver Summit hosted by our friends at Advantage Gold. They'll teach you how to help guard your wealth using asset diversification into physical precious metals. Gold and silver can offer a defense against the dollar's devaluation, and the experts at Advantage Gold will explain how you can convert some of your savings into precious metals that can protect and potentially grow your wealth. With currency debasement from Washington and global uncertainty on the rise, gold and silver diversification can offer you some stability. Call 800-900-8000 right now to sign up. 800-900-8000 now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Tremendous amount of things you can cut. Maybe precise. Tremendous amount of things you can do, not cut. He said, but the bottom line is, he's still at it.
Mr. Producer, you got to add that to the mumblers. There he was in New Hampshire today, rallying his troops, a juggernaut. By the way, I heard some a-hole. I was having lunch. I hate Trump. I could never vote for him. I just can't stand the guy. It was all I could do, Mr. Producer, to keep my mouth shut. Guy looks like a punk who was on the government payroll his life, probably retired after 20 years, down in Florida, getting his tan, enjoying life, while Biden's destroying life for everybody else. But he's fine, this guy. I was grinding my teeth. Luckily, he wasn't there with my wife. She'd let him have it. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Tremendous amount of things you can cut. Maybe precise. Tremendous amount of things you can do, not cut. He said, but the bottom line is, he's still at it.
Well, obviously, whatever they pumped him up with for State of the Union has served its purpose. And Mark, how can you say that? Ladies and gentlemen, let him release his list of medicines. They never offered to do that. That will tell us everything we need to know. Anyway, the media in America today, obviously, they're very interested in all this stuff, meaning not. We're going to have Congressman Loudermilk on the program in literally 15 minutes. And I'm daring the media to report the truth, and I'm insisting, Liz Cheney, that you even asked to testify under oath about your report and beyond these apparent bald-faced lies, that is censorship and cover-up. We used to call it obstruction. But what happened to everything? Where's all the material? You see, they're propagandists. Trump did not order the National Guard to go there. Who said he did? He offered the National Guard. The mayor turned it down. Pelosi turned it down. They all turned it down. Mark Meadows told the truth when he said, however, the National Guard was positioned at Andrews Air Force Base just in case it needed to come. Now, see, this is the problem. It is a narrative that is truthful that counters the fictional narrative that Liz Cheney and her comrades cobbled together, conducting a hearing the way Joseph Stalin would have had his minions conduct a hearing, except this time it was Nancy Pelosi. And so, relevant, in fact, more than relevant, material, in fact, more than material, exculpatory testimony and evidence was not made available to the public during the course of the hearings, and neither were the relevant transcripts. And much has been destroyed since. So Dizzy Lizzy has thrown in with the dark side. And I haven't seen anything in the Wall Street Journal editorial page. I haven't seen much at National Review. I haven't seen Peggy Noonan. Peggy Noonan, pedantic Peggy Noonan, write your wordy piece in defense of your gal, Dizzy Lizzy. Haven't heard anything from, what's her name, Nikki Haley? What happened to her, by the way, Mr. Where is she now? Doesn't matter. Lousy governors don't die, they just fade away, and fade away she has. But she'll be back. She felt she had a tremendous showing. But before we continue here, Nancy Mace, I've never been a fan of hers, I'm still not, but I am a fan of what she did, and apparently as a result of that, Donald Trump just endorsed her. She's on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Can somebody please tell me how ABC absolutely shamelessly hires George Stephanopoulos to be one of their main news people? The guy that ran the war room, the guy that went after Paula Jones and any other woman that said, that guy molested me. We had to destroy them. Remember Carville, who's constantly on CNN or is it MSNBC? Looks like a shriveled up little pickle. May I say that, Mr. Producer? And he's out there ranting and raving like a lunatic. He's the one talking about dragging a $20 bill. Oh, these guys, they're just fine. You can trash women. It's perfectly fine. Look at what they're doing to Senator Britt. You can trash them as long as they're questioning, challenging, alleging against any Democrat. I have an echo now, Rich. What do? Put your elbow down while you're eating your steak sandwich? Anyway, here it is. But these Sunday shows are absolutely worthless. Except mine, of course. I'm talking about ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN. They're just propaganda operations. Cut 17, go.
And you've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape. And for
hold on. Is that static okay? Is it not going over the airwaves, Rich? Are you still with me, Rich? Can't find my producer. They did not find him guilty of rape. Quite the contrary. We've talked about that here. She's accused him of rape, and the jury did not find him guilty of rape. They found him guilty of sexual something or other, but it wasn't rape. So why would he say that? What is it with the media? Hamas numbers when they know they're lying. He wasn't found guilty of a rape and they know they're lying. Dizzy Lizzie Cheney and her committee covering up information. Oh, they're liars. That guy, they can't trust them. Cash Patel. You know. Right. And they just keep marching along. Joe Biden obviously has dementia. No, he doesn't. He's the sharpest knife in the drawer. Oh, the border would be secure but for Trump and the Republicans. Oh, if only Netanyahu would drop dead, then we could have peace in the Middle East. If only and when. It's just nonstop. It's so sickening. They wonder why they're losing viewers and audience. Because you're hated. And you should be hated. You're not about a free press. You're destroying the press. You know that Constitution and the Bill of Rights you hate? Go ahead.
How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not going to do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald Trump.
No, you are shaming me.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable.
Stop a minute. Hey, punk, midget. You brought up something in her past that you know would upset her. It is contemptible. You're a lowlife. In order to score a sleazy political point, first you lied about Trump. And there are very serious questions about all of this, but it doesn't matter. You lied about the findings, and you used it to try and humiliate and embarrass Nancy Mace because she was raped. You're a punk. The same punk that ran the Clinton war room. The same punk that ran the Clinton war room. When Juanita Broderick said I was raped by him when he was Attorney General. You undermined her, you smeared everybody, you jerk. And how dare you ask a question like this? And where the hell are all the women? Where are you at CNN and MSNBC? You clowns? Sickening. But don't worry, they'll find a way to turn it into Donald Trump. Well, they just did. How come you don't ask anybody about Tamara Reid, who's now hiding out in Russia because she's scared of Biden? She accused him of raping her in a hallway. No, he just did that. No, that's the definition of rape. Go ahead.
Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury. It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case, number one. Number two, I live with shame. And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim, and I find it disgusting. And quite frankly, E. Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy, it makes it harder for women to come forward.
We're all wondering about that. It's very perverse behavior. Very perverse behavior. If you go through these juries and so forth, one jury anyway, and the other with the judge, and these sort of things happen, you claim they happened. You're talking about where you're going to spend your money? If you're going to give it away? If you're going to go shopping? Isn't that a little weird, Mr. Producer? Go ahead.
A mockery out of rape when they joke about it.
Doesn't it make it harder for women to come forward when they?
It makes it harder when other women joke about it, and she's joked about it. And I find it offensive, and I also find it offensive that you're trying to shame me with this question.
I'm not trying to shame you at all. In fact,
I have dealt with this for 30 years. You know how hard it was to tell my story 5 years ago when they were doing a fetal heartbeat bill and there were no exceptions for rape, incest, or rape or incest in there. I had to tell my story because no other woman was coming forward. No rape victims were represented. And you're trying to shame me this morning.
I'm just asking.
And I find it offensive, and this is why
George, why don't you shut the hell up and listen to what she's saying? You know damn well what you did. You and your friggin' producers thought this was very clever. Very clever. We got her. She was raped. And now Trump was convicted of this over here, and then she endorses Trump. Let's get her. The man who worked for Bill Clinton. With the interns and the this and the that. I don't know, George. How do you have a news job after smearing Juanita Broderick? and Paula Jones and all the other women. And this fat slob George Conway, although it looks like he's got one of those weight-losing belts or whatever the hell happened to him, who's advising the other side on what to do. What a punk. What a puke. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Switch to Pure Talk today and get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. No 4-line requirement, no activation fees, just a Samsung that's built to last with a rugged screen, quick charging battery, and top-tier data security. Qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot. Pure Talk will connect you to the most dependable 5G network in America for half the price of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year. So let Pure Talk's expert U.S. customer service team help you make the switch today. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone and start saving on wireless today. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk. Welcome back, America. We're here with Congressman Loudermilk. How are you, sir?
Good, Mark. It's good to be with you again.
It's a pleasure. You're doing God's work here because this is very, very important for the record and for history. You have found a gentleman, a deputy chief of staff, or deputy chief anyway, who had eyewitness testimony, provided eyewitness testimony, presented it under oath behind closed doors during his deposition. What did that testimony see, and why didn't it ever see the light of day?
Well, that's the interesting thing when you look at the select committee. They did over 1,000 interviews. But when you go to their website that Liz Cheney likes to promote all the time is here's our report and here's all the supporting documentation. Well, that's fine. I expect you to put any documentation that supports your predetermined narrative. But what about the hundreds of others? Where are those? And this is just one of those interviews that they did, these depositions that didn't support their predetermined narrative. And it's been missing for a while, but in our investigation, we turned it up, and it basically proved what they were trying to say otherwise, is that President Trump didn't authorize the National Guard, but we've known all along he did. And obviously, they didn't want that transcribed interview as part of their record because it didn't support this narrative that they wanted to sell to the American people.
They're even twisting what former acting defense secretary Miller said on my program. I'm not saying Trump ordered the National Guard to appear. That's not what happened. He offered the National Guard to the people he wanted to offer. He can't order them, so they're playing word games. Right. And the acting defense secretary was on my show, and he said he absolutely did offer the National Guard. And he goes through chapter and verse. Akash Patel is 100% right, and he's telling me this. We have that if you ever want it, by the way. I just played it. And what's interesting is, over the weekend, she trashes Molly Hemingway's piece in The Federalist, calls her a bozo. I thought she was calling me a bozo. Can you imagine that, Congressman? And then I said, you know what? You're such a liar, and you need to be put under oath. You need to testify. You have potential, Congressman, here with witness tampering. We'll get to Hutchinson in a minute. Document destruction. I'm not saying she did it. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she knew about it. But isn't it time to find out what the hell she knew, since she's out there as essentially the spokesman for the now dead committee and attacking anybody who dares to raise serious questions?
Well, Mark, my dad, combat veteran from World War II, used to tell me you take the fire when you're over the target. So that's we look for it. You know, when they're quiet, yeah, they were probably not where we need to be. But as soon as we bring up something that hurts, that's when they start coming out. And just the idea of making these attacks tells me, hey, we're hitting where they didn't want us to be. But to attack Molly Hemingway, I mean, Molly's piece was great, and I thought it was well done, and it hit right to the point. Why is this the first time we're seeing this? And that's the other information that we are releasing right now. It's the same thing. This is information they didn't want you to see because it didn't support their narrative that Donald Trump orchestrated this entire January 6th And as a constitutionalist, you know, Trump can't order the National Guard. All he can do is make it available. It has to be requested by Nancy Pelosi or the Capitol Police, the police board. We're the legislative branch. The Constitution is set up to where the president can't just send the military over to take over Congress.
Exactly.
But the number of requests were turned down over and over again. But this proves that this is days before January 6th. This proves that there were plans, at least things being offered. Look, there's going to be a lot of people here. Let's provide you help. But the folks just didn't like optics. Nancy Pelosi didn't like the optics of it. But you know what? As we spelled out and as Molly spelled out in the report, had they just taken President Trump up on the offer for 500 troops, just 500, not even 10,000, it would have been a different scenario on January 6th.
And Mark Meadows, his testimony was accurate. Truthfully, he said we were positioned. We actually positioned National Guard at Andrews Air. All they had to do is ask for it. The mayor turned it down. Pelosi turned it down. I mean, the effort to hang Donald Trump as an insurrectionist and most of the people who supported them, this is why, Congressman, they will never, ever, ever allow this information to read the broader republic, because they have circled on their annual calendars Insurrection Day on January 6th. They've tried to well, let me ask you this. You got a prosecutor here that used the Klan Act, the Enron Act, and a federal contractor act. No insurrection, no sedition, no charges of violence or even bringing violence, even though he's making all those arguments. Doesn't that demonstrate they don't have a damn thing?
They don't. And this is the thing is when we get the truth out, I think the American people can make their own judgment. It's important that they have a right to know the truth. More importantly, it's important that everyone else know that this, and I'm talking about courts and judges, that this document should be not put in a government document shelf at the library. It should be in fiction as a novel. That there is very little truth. I mean, there's some facts sprinkled in throughout this thing, but there is very little truth in this document at all. And I can tell you, even on January 6th, we're releasing transcribed interviews. They're redacted, but the interviews that have been sent to the White House to keep us from getting them. They asked a person who is physically close to President Trump, what was his reaction when he was told that the Capitol had been breached? He said, get General Milley and Nancy Pelosi on the phone, see what they need.
Really?
That's not yes. And you'll see that in these transcribed interviews that were hidden from the American people. That's not somebody who is involved in it. He is even the day of saying, get them on the phone. I need to know what they need.
That is amazing. I mean, it turns everything upside down. I just find that the news is built on fiction. These campaigns with the Democrats built on fiction. The border's secure. If it's not, it's your fault. Can I carry over one more segment, sir?
Sure.
It's Congressman Loudermilk who's getting to the bottom of this thing. Of course, the press doesn't give a damn, but we do. We'll be right back. Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Switch to Pure Talk today and get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. No 4-line requirement, no activation fees, just a Samsung that's built to last with a rugged screen, quick charging battery, and top-tier data security. Qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot. Pure Talk will connect you to the most dependable 5G network in America for half the price of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year. So let Pure Talk's expert U.S. customer service team help you make the switch today. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone and start saving on wireless today. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Congressman Loudermilk, you know, how dare you ask questions about Katie Hutchison's testimony? What are you finding about her testimony? I understand she's been sued by Tony Bobolinsky. A lot of people are raising questions about it. I believe she was one of Liz Cheney's key witnesses, and Liz took her under her arm and so forth. What are you telling us tonight about this?
Well, I'm not going to pass judgment on whether she was telling the truth or not, but it's interesting that she tells these sensational stories that she gets secondhand or thirdhand, and then you have dozens of other people who tell the opposite, but whose version does Liz Cheney select? Hers. What's also interesting is her first 3 interviews were pretty much like everybody's else. Ask about questions. I don't know anything about this, et cetera, et cetera. Then, and some of this we actually derived from her book and Liz Cheney's book. After her 3rd interview, she has a meeting with Liz Cheney. Then she fires her attorney, and Liz Cheney finds her a pro bono attorney. Then Liz calls her for a 4th interview, but Liz doesn't tell anyone else on the select committee. She has it in her hideaway office in the Capitol. It's just her and Liz, a court reporter, and a videographer. And they come up with all of these sensational stories.
Whoa. Well, Congressman, hold on. This is a big deal. I've never heard of a member of Congress going rogue and pulling some potential witness or a witness and having them testify in front of a videographer. Did the Republicans even know this was taking place?
No, neither did Benny Thompson, the chairman of the select committee. The Democrats didn't know this was taking place.
Now, let me tell the American people why this is important, because that's not an official proceeding. She does it, but she gets the testimony she wants, I would argue. And if she didn't get the testimony she wanted, it would be like it never happened before, right?
Exactly. And then it takes a step further, because they had this meeting before, so, derive what you want out of that. Her testimony significantly changes after the meeting with Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney takes that video of her transcribed interview that they had privately, shows it to the rest of the committee. Then they schedule an emergency televised hearing where they parade Cassidy out, and she tells these stories to America without corroborating any of the story with anybody who was there firsthand. It's only after that that Tony Ornato and then the Secret Service driver and several others testified that none of that ever happened. In fact, the Secret Service driver, when they interviewed him a couple of months later, they didn't even ask him if the incident that she testified where Trump supposedly tried to grab the steering wheel, they wouldn't even ask him about it, and he was driving the SUV.
Well, they didn't want his answer.
He had to interject it himself. So it kind of shows you this pattern of people are asking me, did Cassidy Hutchins tell the truth? Well, I don't know, but it's interesting that her story is the only one of these sensational stories. Her testimony is the only one, and dozens of other people say it never happened.
I have 2 questions. Number one, will you bring back some of these people to testify under oath, like Liz Cheney?
That is our plan. We are starting now. We've spent the first year digging up all of this evidence, and we've got it now. We issued this interim report that came out today. And now tomorrow we're actually having a hearing on the mysterious pipe bombs and the debacle of that. We're going to be having a series of other hearings, and we will have a hearing on these testimonies. Now, whether Ms. Hutchinson or Liz Cheney will show up, we'll see. But we're definitely going to give them an invitation to come and answer some questions.
Liz is very busy on the internet, Congressman. You might want to try communicating with her there. The other thing is they destroyed an enormous amount of information, as you explained on this program and on TV before. Any more information about that?
Well, we're still trying to find somebody who even knows what the password is. And it's interesting because these are heavily encrypted. I mean, it's very professionally done. And so we still have 100 documents. We've been able to get a couple of them, and have helped us identify some of the pieces. They helped us identify some of the other documents that were missing, and we were able to recover them. But these 100-plus encrypted documents, no one seems to know what the password was. Benny Thompson says, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I think it's coming to light is he probably didn't. But I think Liz probably does, because from everything we're seeing, she is the one who is actually running that committee.
That's why her testimony under oath is so damn important.
Yes, and we're still trying every day to figure out what the password to these documents are.
I do want to ask you a personal question involving me. They got 13 of my emails that really weren't related to anything. And I found out about it because one of the Fox lawyers who was working with some other witness up there said, Mark, they have 13 of your emails. I said, what? How the heck they get 13 of my emails? I want to know how they got 13 of my emails, Congressman. This is my special pleader role for myself because I want to know who did it and I want to sue their ass. And I'm not kidding.
Well,
immunity,
this is
BS on immunity. If you violate the law, you have to defend yourself. You can raise whatever constitutional issue you want. Somebody went into my database and got 13 emails. The hell is that all about?
Well, that's another mystery of this entire committee of other missing data, because I was able to have a meeting with someone who was, let's say, a contractor to the committee who has been a good informant. And he has indicated to us that there was a lot of activity like that. And that data is no longer around. We've been looking to try to figure out, they did subpoena for a lot of phone records. They subpoenaed, and I have issues with some of the companies that just went along with them without even getting subpoenaed, but they amassed a tremendous amount of data. And how they got it is still a mystery. And I think that's something that once we get beyond this first level of showing the American people that they definitely need to know the truth of what really transpired on January 6th, not just this novel, then we're going to dig a little deeper into more of the operations of the committee itself.
You know, Congressman, it must be hard to sleep at night from time to time. You have a presidential candidate, the former president, who's fighting for his very liberty based on all these lies and these phony statutes. You have these narratives that are out there. Isn't it, I would, based on what I'm reading and seeing and even listening to what you're saying right now, these are the police state tactics. These are the people who don't believe in democracy. These are the people we have to fear. They totally flipped the script, have they not?
They have. They basically took the approach of, we will do whatever we need to do, even if it's in violation of House rules, even if it's in violation of the law, to get to what we want to know. And one of the reasons they go after your emails, in my opinion, is because they weren't getting what they wanted to get to by other means. In other words, people were just telling the truth, like, no, that isn't the case. Trump never said this. He did order the 10,000 troops. He was trying to get help over there. When they don't get that answer, they're digging deeper to try to find somebody that they can use something on. And in some cases, I think they were just trying to see who else they could bring in to answer questions, that they could catch them in perjury or,
Exactly.
They wielded a big stick and they were going to swing it at anybody that got close to it.
Well, I'll tell you what it was generally. My friend John Eastman and he is my friend, we had a big disagreement over the Constitution. We had a disagreement over what the vice president's powers were. And those were the 13 emails, the back and forth, that the committee got. And the lawyer says to me, you need to know I said, I need to know what? Let them interview me, these screwed up people, and I want to know where they got it from. I'm not going to lie down for this crap. I'm allowed to give a friend an opinion, and all of a sudden my emails are missing. The hell's that all about? They'll rue the day they call me to testify, and I'm going to demand that I testify in public, and if they say no, then fine, I'll do it in private. And I expect that to go on for days and days. That's fine by me. It's ridiculous. And the funny thing was, Congressman, my advice was counter to what they were doing. So it didn't make any...
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway.
Yeah, they did it to a lot of people. They did it to me. They ended up with some of my texts between myself and Mark Meadows, which is the same thing. I'm just like, hey, Mark, POTUS needs to do something. They breached the Capitol. It's really bad.
Yeah.
That was very benign. But then somehow they leak my personal cell phone number to CNN. Right after they come out with these texts, now I'm getting calls directly from CNN, and I didn't give them the number. There's only one way they could have gotten it. It was doxed by Liz Cheney and her folks on the committee.
100%. All right, Congressman. God bless you, sir. Keep your phone
All
open.
right,
We're going to
Mark.
try and grab you over the weekend.
That'll be great. We'll do it.
All right. Be well. Bye-bye. What do you think of that? And I told you about the lies about the Hamas numbers. One of the foremost statisticians, not merely at the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School, but in the nation, said this is crap. They're making it up. And I'm going to tell you how and why. Nothing from CNN, MSNBC. Then you're nothing. They want to keep lying. They want to take out Bibi Netanyahu. Obama wanted to take out Bibi Netanyahu because the only kind of prime minister they like in Israel is one that will do whatever they tell them to do. A lapdog. That's it. Then they support Israel if that prime minister will help them destroy the state of Israel with their utopian two-state solution. And then look here how they're trying to take out Donald Trump. Liz Cheney. She's a disgrace. She's worse than I said on the internet over the weekend. And so are her prepubescent munchkins out there. Ooh, it's Liz. We got to defend her. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Switch to Pure Talk today and get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. No 4-line requirement, no activation fees, just a Samsung that's built to last with a rugged screen, quick charging battery, and top-tier data security. Qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot. Pure Talk will connect you to the most dependable 5G network in America for half the price of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year. So let Pure Talk's expert U.S. customer service team help you make the switch today. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone and start saving on wireless today. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk. You know, next hour, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about this TikTok thing. It amazes me what money can buy. It really does. Qatar has bought support for Hamas throughout the Democrat Party and the media, as well as in parts of the Republican Party and Republican media. And now we have TikTok. And, of course, one of the main investors, one of the bigwigs there, is worth over $30 billion. I believe he's a Republican. And they're spending a lot of money, and not just him, to try and stop in the House and in the Senate by pushing Republicans to make, quote-unquote, libertarian and constitutional arguments against TikTok being restricted. Ladies and gentlemen, when an enemy state that has all but declared war on the United States is brainwashing our children, is gathering their data, is doing everything under the cover of encryption, spying on our country, that's not free speech. How stupid is that? How moronic is that? Foreign governments that have front corporations that are trying to destroy our country has nothing to do with your freedom of speech or freedom of speech, even as a principle. It's absurd. So Hitler during World War II had the right to be heard in the United States? Is that what we're saying? Does that make sense to anybody? And yet these are the dumbass arguments that are being thrown around and being seriously taken as constitutionalists. They're not serious. They're not constitutional. They're bought and paid for. I was invited to speak in an organization that in the past I spoke with and to and have liked. But now this billionaire is one of their big donors, and of course, their position is, oh, it's free speech, libertarian. Government can't do this. This is exactly what the government's supposed to be doing. Not monitoring you and me, not censoring you and me, not preventing a free flow of discussion, preventing a communist government. Even worse, their military wing from planning a social media platform within our own country for the purpose of overthrowing our country and destroying our country. Those are acts of war, not acts of free speech. I mean, what the hell is this? Is it a joke? Is it a joke? And many of your children are hooked on it. And many businesses are hooked on it. Because the followers, 170 million, the Communist Chinese buy the minds of our kids. The Communist Chinese are in our colleges and universities with the Confucius Institutes. What is this, a joke? They're buying land, millions of acres of our land next to military sites, farmland, the biggest producer of ham in the country. I mean, what's going on here? We're being taken over from within. And I got to listen to these a-holes tell us about free speech?
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. Hello. 877-381-3811. I don't understand this news story. RNC, absolute bloodbath, quote unquote. I mean, the DNC changed the order of their primaries to accommodate Joe Biden. South Carolina goes first. They pushed out that guy that was trying to get started up, the congressman. They blew him out. They blew out Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Nasty Joe won't even get him Secret Service protection. I mean, think about that. So Joe controls his party. The chairman of the party was a Joe Biden man. When Reagan won the presidency, same thing happened. Well, we don't have the presidency now, we Republicans, conservatives. Donald Trump was the president, is going to be the nominee. Therefore, the RNC reports to him. This is normal. And so he puts his daughter-in-law there. Okay, John Kennedy put his brother as the Attorney General of the United States. So it's hardly the same thing. John Kennedy putting his brother as Attorney General of the United States to do all his dirty work for him, including going after Martin Luther King and tapping his phones. So Lara Trump becomes really one of the powerhouses over there, RNC, and you'd think something's wrong. Nothing's wrong. It's quite normal. It's quite routine. You can't run a party if you have individuals in there who are not going to support the eventual nominee. It doesn't work that way. And so there's nothing controversial about it whatsoever. At all. Period. And they can't stop writing stories. It's like trying to destroy this Senator Britt. I feel so bad for her. Young upcoming senator. She still is, in my view. This Wolf Blitz did the whole thing. I was sitting there, couldn't do a damn thing about it, on the monitor with the knucklehead sitting next to me. They had a whole segment on it. That the individual who was sex trafficked was not sex trafficked during the Biden administration. That wasn't her point, you idiot. Tens of thousands of women have been sex trafficked during the Biden administration. Why don't you get off your fat ass at CNN, go down to the border and find them? Oh, well. Mark. Ready for this? On TikTok, Republican billionaire with $33 billion TikTok stake bullies lawmakers to stop bill forcing Chinese ByteDance sale. And I hope they haven't reached into the higher quarters of the Republican Party. Billionaire mega donors bullying members of Congress, writes the New York Post, by threatening to stop funding them if they back a bill to order TikTok's Chinese parent to sell the app, the Post has learned. See, they're not eliminating TikTok. They're saying get it out of the communist Chinese control. There's nothing wrong with that. Hedge fund manager Jeff Yass, Y-A-S-S. Oh, that seems appropriate. Jeff Yass is personally calling Republican members of the House, because the guy's got a massive stake in this, to try to halt legislation which would force ByteDance to divest itself of the app, putting it in U.S. hands instead of communist Chinese. Something wrong with that? His fund has a $33 billion stake in the Chinese company. Well, why did you do that, pal? You know, I don't care, Republicans, Democrats, it's the same damn thing, whether it's Qatar, whether it's the communist Chinese, whatever it is. Let me tell you something, this is un-American. That's right, billionaire pal. As far as I'm concerned, it's un-American, what you've done. And now making these phone calls. And everybody associated with it. That's correct. This is an enemy country. The bill known as the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act, gee whiz, couldn't we tighten that up a little bit, Mr. Producer? Was being marked up Thursday, but it might be marked up Wednesday. It would force ByteDance to either sell TikTok to an American company in 6 months or be banned entirely. I endorse this bill strongly. Doesn't matter to me who says otherwise. I could care less. They might be this one or the Trump or this, that, and the... So what? I said I have disagreements with people, and it's not clear to me that that's his position anyway. But that's my position. It was jointly drawn up by Representative Mike Gallagher, kind of a knucklehead, the chair of the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, and the Democrat ranking member, Representative Raja Yabadaba. Yass is a Republican mega donor who has funneled $130 million since 2020 into PACs and a right-of-center think tank, the Club for Growth. That's the one, the Club for Growth. That's the one. I said, no, I'm not going to talk to your people. Which then funnels money to libertarian and GOP lawmakers, such as Ted Cruz and Jim Banks. Now, that is a very sleazy statement. So the billionaire gives money to Club for Growth, and Club for Growth supports conservatives. But there's a lot of people who support Club for Growth who don't have any ties to TikTok, so why would you even throw that in there? But let's go on. A spokesman for Yass denied that he was making calls to Republican members of Congress and said, quote, Jeff learned about this proposed bill yesterday, Tuesday, and has not spoken with anyone about it. Any suggestion otherwise is categorically false. Well, that's good to know. So why are people saying it's not categorically false? But multiple sources confirm the calls to the Post. Quote, he's telling them he's pulling funding if they support a TikTok ban. A source with knowledge of the conversation told the Post. One source described it as bullying. Mr. Yass, you have every right to lobby members of Congress, by the way. If that's what you're doing, just say so. If you're not, that's fine. If he's able to persuade an enclave of libertarian Republicans to fight tooth and nail against this, you'll scare off votes, one Hill source said. Libertarian Republicans, they support communist China devouring our country? Very odd. Well, a number of bills looking to ban TikTok have been floated over the past few years. Capitol Hill sources said they believe this is the first piece of legislation forcing a divestiture of TikTok from ByteDance they could actually pass. You know, we conservatives talk about communist China. What are we going to do about communist China? We talk about all the bases they're putting all over the world. We talk about their killer satellites to knock out our GPS system and our electrical grid. Their Navy is going to be bigger than ours. They have more advanced nuclear weapons. They have a bigger army. They're preparing for war. They want to take Taiwan. They threaten us. The Chinese COVID-19 virus is from China, and they don't tell us in time so we could deal with it and so forth. They still won't share the information with it. By TikTok, by God. Unbelievable. What we're willing to tolerate. Joe Biden with fentanyl coming across the border. TikTok brainwashing our children. This is a big... We should be celebrating the people who want to put an end to this. Celebrating it. This ain't any libertarian bullcrap. We should be celebrating it. It's not an American company. Take communist. As far as I'm concerned, a communist front group. That's my opinion. If not, they act pretty funny. While ByteDance owns other social media apps and digital games, TikTok is the crown jewel, and a forced sale would kneecap profits and eliminate leverage to charge a heavy price for the popular video app, since buyers would know they have to off-road it. It's gotten the White House's approval, and that's why a lot of, Biden's for it, I'm against it. Don't be a Biden. Don't be a Biden. If something's wrong, it's wrong. Oh, and I hear it said by the advocates for the communist TikTok, I don't care if they have an American billionaire involved or not. It's a communist-controlled entity. And they're using it to their advantage against us. And they've succeeded in an unimaginable way. We were asleep at the wheel again. It's not, no, we libertarians believe it. It's not a libertarian. Free speech, nothing to do with it. Don't constitutionalize the acts of a communist country that's undermining us, like you're constitutionalizing the acts of Iran and Hamas and Qatar. What's up with that? We have enemies, and they're doing things to us. And I don't care who's making how much money. And I don't care who they're paying off to be their mouthpieces. And I don't care what think tank they're giving money to. Screw it. Oh, and the argument is, well, Facebook will get bigger. They're not going to get bigger than communist China. That's for sure. What a joke. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
How did the media straighten this one out? Fake organizations like Media Matters. Joe Biden will sign the bill if it comes to his end. Joe Biden's on TikTok, for God's sakes. He's running commercials on TikTok. He was on TikTok during the Super Bowl. But don't worry, this is what I mean. Joe's a racist segregationist, but then he's Martin Luther King. Joe supports Israel, but then he's funding Iran. Joe wants closed borders, but then he opens the borders. Joe is a liar, a chameleon, a punk. That's what he is. So why is Joe Biden on TikTok if he says he will sign a bill that takes TikTok away from the communist Chinese or eliminates it? Why is he giving it aid and comfort? We don't care. It's Trump. And by the way, that 2 hours I was on the plane with CNN, if you were to say to those hosts and that clown, Wolf Blitzer, I try to do the news without mentioning Trump, it would be a blank monitor. A blank monitor. Nothing. And they just go right through the White House talking points. They go after Senator Britt. They had a whole panel on that. They even brought in a somebody who was in sex slavery and asked her what she thought about it. I think it was the one that she may have mentioned. But they don't bring in anybody else who might tell you what they thought about. But, she this. Now, so they smear her, as I knew they would. They smear her. And her delivery, we've anonymous, there's something wrong with her. Now, there's Joe Biden, spittle dripping down his lip, his denture's loose, his hair plugging. He's all out of sorts. He's cringing, he's yelling, my God, he's got energy. Ladies and gentlemen, a dog in heat shows it has energy, Mr. Producer. What does that have to do with anything? The truth is, I was exhausted when he was done. Weren't you, Rich? It was exhausting watching this maniac. It's like having a peephole in a mental institution, watching a guy bounce off the padded walls. And there they are, the liberals on the panels. And we Democrats were just so excited about it. We're just, shut up, you idiots. Our enemies want the same candidate you do, Biden. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? The first president who's actually supported terrorist regimes. I don't mean just with his big mouth. I mean with money. Money. American money. Pouring into terrorists. Well, this jackass is telling Netanyahu to stand down. I'm going to have a come to Jesus with him. Really? I thought you'd have a come to Muhammad with him, given your current mindset. Sickening. It really is. I got to tell you folks, and you folks know this. You don't have to be Jewish to know this, but as a Jew, it's shocking to me. It's like, what the hell's going on around here? People keep telling me, you got to watch your back, watch for your safety. What am I supposed to do? Hire bodyguards? I mean, obviously I'm well known, I'm outspoken, my position is utterly clear, but people keep telling me. Even security people get, what are you doing to protect yourself? Well, even discussing this is going to infuriate my wife. But I'm just being honest with you folks. It's now a second thought. It's now a concern. I mean, they have their people here. The Iranians have agents here now. And if they didn't, it's so easy to get across the border. Simple. I said to a friend of mine the other day, actually was at CPAC. I said, if I ever visited China, you think they'd let me out? He said, no way. You'd be a spy, you see. I said, what about Russia? Absolutely no way. Okay. Sure as hell I'm not going to Gaza, Mr. Producer, I can tell you that. No, if I were kidnapped, Joe Biden would say, okay, don't you dare invade, whatever. It's frightening. I want you to listen to Mika Brzezinski on the Morning Schmo going after Nancy Mace. I want you to listen to this because they love their Joe Biden. I would say they have my good friend Joe has his head up Biden's ass. I would tell him that personally. He's not my good friend. I met him. But to have two heads up his ass, that sounds painful to me, Mr. Producer. The couple? Cut 18, go.
It's just not offensive, and she's not shamed because she's incapable of being shamed.
Now listen to that. Listen to that. So Nancy Mace is incapable of being shamed. Is there another rape victim on the face of the earth that Joe Scarborough would talk about like that? All their attacks on Trump and you understand the diabolical nature of these people, right? You understand the hate, the obsession that they get up every morning, excited, not to be alive in a free country, excited to go on the attack, to keep targeting Trump and anybody who supports him. It just goes on and on and on. It is a mental issue. Go ahead.
Carol, my God.
Well, Trump continually tried to shame.
Oh, I see. She tried to shame E. Jean Carroll. You know what, Mika? There's no hope for Brzezinski. There isn't any. Zbigniew would be very proud of Joe Biden about it now. He never much liked Israel and beyond. He'd be thrilled with what's going on, just as Obama's thrilled, just as Michelle shuts her big mouth while women were raped and tortured and dismembered. I don't think she put out anything, did she, Mr. Producer? If she did, it was it's a one hit, and that's it, but I don't see that. With a little poster, with her little, what was it before? I forget. Anyway, when these kids were kidnapped, I think it was in Nigeria by the Muslims. Anyway, Me Too movement or something like that, or bring them home or whatever. But when it comes to the Jews and quite frankly Americans held by the Islamo-Nazis in Egyptian Gaza, not a word. Oh, bring back our girls. How come you don't dust that off again, Michelle? How come you don't dust that off? Well, she announced she's not running for president. Why? Everybody was predicting you would, and let me tell you, that would have been thrilling. Because on more days than not, she sounds like Joe Biden. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I'll be right back.
The Constitution Man, Mark Levin. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
Tremendous amount of things you can cut. Let me be precise. Tremendous amount of things you can do, not cut. He said, but the bottom line is, he's still at it.
Yes, yes. I understand 100%. I don't necessarily disagree, Mr. President. The man has excelled at his second language. It's called gibberish. We just have to try and unpack it. His genius is really unmatchable. Nobody is as fluent in gibberish as Joe Biden. Let's be honest about it. The mannequin vice president, who they call Kamala Harris, pearls of stupidity each and every day. She was on CBS News Saturday. Can I back up a second here? Look at the Democrat Party. Look at their so-called leaders and look at their bench. What do they have here? One is dumber than the next. One is more radical than the next. This is why they really have no party to replace Biden, despite the fact he's 113 going on 212 with the mind of a 4-year-old. It doesn't matter. They don't have anybody else. Were they going to put this schmo, Kamala Harris, out there? Who else? Newsom? Newsom will last about 3 minutes. Newsom is like a third-tier actor for commercials for hair treatments. That's about it. That's right. He's destroyed his state. It's hard to destroy California. It's got more going for it than any other state. Not now. Now it's at a dead end. All you'd have to do is campaign and say, Newsom, gruesome, he's our man. He'll do to us what he did to California. How do you like that one, Mr. Producer? It doesn't rhyme, but it's good enough. So here's Kamala Harris on CBS News Saturday, regurgitating what she's been told to regurgitate. But I want you to listen to this. It's very, very important, because this is now the Sanders, Netanyahu, Tlaib, Thomas Friedman, and all the Hamas-loving, Jew-hating mouthpieces in the Democrat Party. This is now what they're saying openly. Cut to, go!
I think it's important for us to distinguish, or at least to not conflate, the Israeli government with the Israeli people. The Israeli people are entitled to security, as are the Palestinians.
All right, hold on there, lady. May I call you lady or it? What do you prefer? The Palestinians have a right to secure. Who stopped them? Were they not secure on October 6th? Who stopped them? Hamas stopped them. Iran stopped them. The Muslim Brotherhood stopped them. Islamic Jihad stopped them. The PLO. What are you talking about, you moron? They have a right to security. Who's stopping them? The Israelis weren't killing them. They're killing themselves. They have a right to security, America. Does Hamas have a right to security? No, we mean the peaceful Palestinians. Oh, you mean the ones that voted 85% for Hamas and support October 7 and will vote for them again. You want security? Stop attacking Israel. My God, even under that reprobate Ehud Barak, they offered him like all West Bank, all Judea and Samaria, most of Jerusalem, but it wasn't enough. And they wanted reparations. It wasn't enough. He said no. But they want security. And we know a brand new country of their own, right on the border with Israel, blowing out all the indigenous people, the Jews, turning on over all the most important Jewish and Christian sites to the PLO. That'll work out beautifully. And how are we going to stop Iran from helping them? Hell, we can't even stop Biden from helping Iran. These people are on a suicide mission, and Netanyahu's not going to participate in it, because if he's wrong, because he follows Biden, there are no more Jews in the Middle East. It's that simple. Biden will go off to Rehoboth Beach or Wilmington, get his damn ice cream cone, crap in his pants, do whatever the hell he does. Where was I? So we're supposed to distinguish the government from the people. Can I ask you a question? In a democracy, you're distinguishing the elected government from the people who elected them? You know what they're saying? We've got to topple the elected government of Israel. We support the people. How do they know that the people support Kamala Harris? There's not a position Netanyahu has taken on securing his country and defeating Hamas and rejecting a second, third, fourth, 10th Palestinian state that the vast majority of the people there don't agree with. Is Biden up for election there? Kamala Harris? Blinken? Yeah, and she's smug about her stupidity. That's the thing. And the American people can't stand her. But I got to thinking, we have Bernie Sanders now, the new imperialist, colonialist. We're not going to give you anything. Shut up, you old man. Sit down on your ass. You creep. Now, why is he on all the weekend shows? Because I told you why. They agree with him. They want him out there. Every sniveling, lousy, Marxist, Islamist puke who's on TV is there because the producers, the managers, the bookers, and the hosts want them there. Not because it's newsworthy. Remember what I told you about pseudo-news? They get these people on to say things in order to create news and get ratings. These are not news people. They're barely people. So what Kamala Harris is saying, we support a coup. We've done everything we can to meet with various cabinet members around Netanyahu's back. Just look at this. This is an ally. This is an elected government. They dismiss it as extremist. Why? Simply because there's some Orthodox Jews. Well, you can't have them, for God's sakes. Can't have them. They're trying to topple a prime minister in the middle of war. And then everybody says, no fighting on Ramadan, Mr. President. No fighting on only on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. Only on Passover. Only on Shabbat. Only on the Jewish holidays and the days of rest. They're the days we're going to attack the Jews. But when it comes to Ramadan, we're going to respect that faith. We're going to respect them. We're going to show them that we respect them. So Biden tells Israel, and who does this a-hole Biden even think he is? Who does this punk think he is? This little miscreant coming out of Delaware. Now he wants to rule the country. Unbelievable. The fact is, Menachem Begin was right. The only Jew Biden supports is one on bended knee, on shivering legs. That's it. Because they'll do what he says. I've never seen another country treat an ally like this, ever in my life, ever. And Israel's going to have to figure out down the road how to distance itself from the United States. And that might mean making alliances with countries that we don't like. We've done that ourselves. I mean, their job, as President Trump would say, is their own survival, to represent their people. And Joe Biden, right now, you ready for this? Joe Biden is the worst enemy the state of Israel has. Oh, my God, they're providing him arms. Excuse me. He doesn't want them to win. And he's providing money to Iran, to Hamas, to the Houthis, to Hezbollah, directly and indirectly, to the PLO. The greatest enemy Israel has right now is Joe Biden. Funding the terrorists, funding Iran, undermining Israel, has lost many, many troops, trying to get to the point where they can kill Hamas leadership. They're surrounded. And Biden's saying, that's my red line. And you know what Netanyahu said in response? My red line is making sure Hamas can never do this again. Now, that's a leader. That's a leader. Not this half-wit shuffling around the White House. Right, Lizzie? Right, Lizzie Cheney? You agree with me on that, Lizzie? No, you don't. Because you become a reprobate, too. You're obsessed. It's psychological, in my humble opinion. Just my opinion. She needs to be under oath. She needs to be asked questions. This whole narrative on January 6th is being exposed. It needs to be exposed further. Trying to put Trump in prison. Think about that. And what if they succeed? What do we become? They'll just be more motivated. They'll be more aggressive. All right, I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
All right, let's see what we have here. as we dive into the gene poll. Let's go to Ambrose. What is that name? Whatever. Ambrose, WMAL. How are you? Oh, it's Alan from Ambrose. I'm sorry. I didn't see the whole time. Alan from Ambrose, Massachusetts. Sorry.
No, so many confusing things. It's Alan listening to WMAL from Gambrills, Maryland. I'm right in your backyard.
Right. Got all kinds of stuff going on. Here.
Stuff happens. Stuff happens.
I gotta go on TikTok and find out what's going on. Go ahead.
No, it's amazing. And first off, I was going to thank you so much, Doctor, to be honored to have the chance to talk to you. But it's really amazing listening to some of the stuff that's out there about the stuff from January 6th. And I just wanted to chime in that, wow, this is crazy because I actually know, no, not in the sense of going and playing golf with or so forth, but I know Tony Ornato and traveled a ton with him.
Good guy?
Yeah. And Bob.
So he gives his testimony and they act like he doesn't even exist.
Yeah. What's amazing is the two folks that they are trying to besmirch are probably two of the most professional and non-political individuals that I have ever.
Yeah, that's because he's the target of some of the most unprofessional partisan hacks ever. All right, my friend, thank you. Let's go to John, Chicago, Illinois, the great WLS. John, how are you, sir?
Hi. I'm good, Mark. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So I'm a member of a trade union here in Chicago. I'm a proud Republican. Voted for Trump twice. I'm going to vote for him again. I've had people tell me in my union, if you don't vote for Biden, you're not a true union member.
Oh, come on.
How would you respond to that if someone told you that?
Well, what exactly has Biden done for the unions in 400 years in Washington, D.C.? That's how I'd respond to that, number one. Number two, when you're killing the economy, it affects union members, too. They are red-blooded Americans. It affects them, too. When inflation's going through the roof, it affects their salaries and their families and their pensions, too. So union, non-union, we're American citizens. What's best for the country? This mindless nitwit who thinks, why? And what has he done? Seriously. All this power going into Washington, D.C., that doesn't help people out, particularly trade unions. It may help some of the public sector unions like AFSCME and so forth, but you're not AFSCME. You're a trade union guy. You're in the private sector. Well, he's at war in the private sector. He wants to raise taxes on the private sector. He wants to regulate the private sector. He's going to kill jobs, union, non-union. They're American jobs. The border's wide open. Illegal aliens are coming across, taking away American jobs. You would think the unions would be at the front of it, especially the trade unions. There you go, my friend John. God bless you and your members. All right, I'll see you tomorrow, and God bless all of you. Take care of yourselves.